One thing was cool having the Saturday game was getting to watch some football on Sunday, and so pages of notes between the iPad with one game and the TV with the other. So it's definitely cool to know who's next. But glad to open up to you guys and get ripping for today.
Dan, as someone who worked with Kyle, and I know you've talked before about how he's a bold and aggressive kind of offensive mind and approach. Can you just talk a little bit more about what challenges this offense will present for you to defend, and just what you consider to be some of his best attributes about how he goes about attacking a defense?
Right, and I think if it's okay with you, I'll work backwards on that. I think he's an excellent coach, and why I so wanted to work with him in the first place, because he had saw during his time at Houston and all the run and play pass that they had, to go to Washington and a completely different system regarding RG, and then at Atlanta different with Matt and Julio and the crew that we had there, and now he's different again in terms of how he's utilizing the personnel. And I think that's a sign of a good coach. He's tough, he's gritty, he knows how to attack, and not just the field vertically, but horizontally as well. And so I think that's what makes the matchups tough, because he really does, attack the entire field and puts guys in good positions to play. But I think that's one of the things I most respect about him, is utilizing and finding the unique stuff that a player has, and featuring that in their very best ways. Both, the system that he had, in Atlanta, and the one, that I had in Atlanta, both of us have changed some, over the years based on personnel and how to use them. But that's, to me, what makes, the sign of a good coach. And they're tough, they're physical, they run it well. They've got versatile players in terms of how they use their fullback, their tight end, their wide out. So it'll be a tough matchup for us, but one we're certainly looking forward to.
Are you built going along with that, just how the familiarity aspect of it, where both of you kind of know how the other approaches and how he thinks going into a game and putting together a game plan? Just how have you found over the past how that kind of washes out? Or
yeah, I think it does, because whether it's a division game and you get to know people, or someone on your staff, and I think the last time probably that we squared away probably was 2019, and I'm calling that off my head, but I think that was the last time we squared away. But I think just more than anything, it's their use of the personnel and how they play, and when you add guys into the mix and use them in different ways, I think, like I said, that's the sign of a good coach, and that's why I respect him so much.
Are you built defensively to handle a physical running game? I mean, they do a lot of things, a lot of formations, but they're a physical running team. And just talk about the challenge of handling that physical running style there.
Yeah, and I think it's the motions and shifts also that go along with that that make challenge on your leverage more than anything else. A tight end motion, a shift, a receiver in the backfield, so challenging your leverage. And I think that's one of the things that their offense does well. Clearly, they've gotten a lot of explosive plays both in the run and off the play pass. But when you marry up the two things together, the run and the play pass, and they look alike, that's when you can get a linebacker or safety to step up, and they'll try to rip one behind you. So I think system-wise, that balance that they have of run and play pass, that's what makes them unique.
And the running back, the receivers in the backfield, is that a different key for you? And obviously, Debo, what he does is, as a runner and receiver, I guess it's just more about recognition and understanding that what he can do.
Yeah, and he's certainly he attacks it. He's physical. I really admire his style. All the way back from my time in Seattle, when Percy Harvin was there in the backfield, some of the sweeps and things that he would do. He played tough and physical in his own way. And I'm not comparing the guys. I'm just saying, like, when you have a guy who has unique stuff behind the ball to run it, most of the times you see someone that was, mostly an outside runner if they're a receiver and line up in the backfield, but not him. There's inside zones and traps and counters. So it kind of goes into the details that they'll go for. And I imagine they split some time between, Wes and Bobby Turner, the running back coach, and how do they feature a guy like that? Because it takes a lot of planning. We have a guy on our team that takes a lot of planning. And so I admire that when I tip my hat to that when I see it on the other side of the ball.
You talked with us last week about how some of the positions are continuing to evolve in the league, including tight end. How do you see George Kittle in the framework of that evolving tight end position, and how is your defense equipped to handle him?
What makes, I think, him so unique, Jory, is that he can be in line, he can split out, and not all tight ends can do that. There's some excellent pass catchers that you wouldn't put at the point of attack, but not him. He can block in line, he can, cut from the backside, they can split him out. So I think what makes him so special as a player, he's going to be a wideout. He's going to be in the backfield as a running back. He's going to be in line as a tight end. So when a guy has a skill set to kind of cross into different areas, to me, that's when the really cool stuff happens. And that's a good job by Kyle and their staff of recognizing, okay, this is not just one person to split out to get a matchup. He's a matchup in all the spaces that he goes.
The broadcast on Saturday night discussed you taking Kellen through a mock interview before he spoke with the Jaguars. What can you tell us about that process, and why was that something you wanted to do?
Well, I think, it was probably a little blown out of proportion, more just brother to brother and teammate to teammate, just to make sure, if there's anything on his mind that, can go across. I had a chance to go through some, and I've, through the years, interviewed a lot of people, so I thought if there was a chance just to pass that along to someone else, it's totally worth doing. And one day, years from now, when he's a head coach, and doing his thing, he'll be able to pass along that too. So that's kind of one of the cool parts about coaching and the brotherhood that goes into that. Just knowing, hey man, like, it's not just in the locker room, it's with the coaches too, to make sure that we have each other's back. And if there's a chance to help for Kellen or for any of the coaches, I would certainly do that.
Dan, what's it like to be back in the playoffs?
I'm damn fired up, man. Are you kidding me? The early 90s, Dallas, Niners, some of the championship games. For me, coming up and watching those ones, I can hear Madden and Summerall talking it through. But my first, Dallas and Niner playoff game, I'm pretty fired up to do it, man. So it's exciting. Way back when you start, this is the moments that you're leading towards to be at your best and going when the season, the regular season comes to a close. And so there's a new heightened sense of things that happen in the playoffs. And all the teams are good. They usually come down right to the end, and you battle your ass off for them. So, yeah, man, I'm fired up and ready to go.
Now that Micah's first season's over, can you kind of put into context what he was able to do for you now?
Well, I think just anytime, you've done something that's unique and different, and, we've been playing here for a long time, so we've had some excellent edge rushers. So for guys to have that kind of production when you're not playing the position full time, I think that speaks to, where his future, is going from tackles for loss and sacks and impact plays. So, we plan on him being an excellent player here for a long time, and I thought just to kick it off in that fashion for him has been a remarkable start to it. He's hungry for it, which is nice because not everybody can handle that kind of versatility, and not only at any part of your career, but especially as a rookie. And so I definitely tip my hat to him. I'm proud of the work that he's done so far. But we got, as we're getting into the new space right now, I'm looking forward to seeing him compete here moving forward.
How do you help Micah get into that new space? Obviously, it's the postseason, and there'll be more attention on him from opposing offenses.
Yeah, that's a good thing, and we haven't addressed that yet, although we have addressed, kind of the urgency that we're looking for, and he doesn't have to put the cape on. He just has to do his job really well, and so I think that's kind of been my message, not just for Micah, but for the other guys as well, to play good playoff defense, man. You have to be relentless. Your energy's got to be right, but you got to do your job really good. You don't have to go win the game on this play, but when your play comes and that moment's there, you got to go capitalize it. And we've all seen that time and again. When this part of the game comes and this moment's there, you go and you nail it. And one thing I know about him, he's down for the challenge. So this guy loves to compete, and so it'll be fun to see him do his thing in his first playoff experience moving forward.
How do you manage your time when teams are seeking permission to talk to you about their vacancies?
Yeah, it's a good question, and I'm not trying to avoid it or to be coy. There's just simply nothing to report on my end, and when job changes happen and coaches let go, it's a difficult time for them, their families, the assistants, the team, everybody that goes into that. So listen, it's nice to hear if someone is interested. That's not lost on me. I had a difficult 20 season and didn't go so good, so that's not lost on me. But there's really nothing to add on my end, so there's not a lot of time management or anything that has to go into mine other than just kicking ass and being right where my feet are. So hopefully we can just talk Niners today, because that's really where my heart and my head are moving forward.
When Kyle Shanahan prepares for your defense, how different do you feel your defense is compared to the one that he remembers from the practice field?
Yeah, that's a good question, Michael. I would say there'll be some similarities in terms of, a framework and a style, and hopefully a play style, that comes across. But I would say that's probably where it ends. From a structure of 4 down or 5 down, he would have saw a lot of that in our times together. But what's probably different from my end is just the way that we use some of the coverages, the way that we use some of the pressures, and there's quite a bit that's different on his end too. So if you had pulled out our tape from 15 and 16, from practice, both his offense and the defense, that I'm, obviously using here would be quite a bit different. So I would say, yeah, significantly different.
Constant evolution as a coach, how important have you learned that is? And is there a balance between staying true to what you believe in and your principles with also being open to adaptation? Yeah, I think, and it is one of the coolest parts about coaching, because the changes, they keep happening, and so the learning never stops. So early on, I would say, way back at the start of my NFL career, I was fortunate enough to start at the Niners when Bill Walsh was still there, and it was my first experience and my first insight into like roles for a player. This could be a short yardage fullback. This guy could be a pass rusher that would be into these things. And it kind of opened my mind to new possibilities of roles for players and how to feature guys to go in them. And so I think we're seeing that more than ever in the NFL, versatile players and tight ends and receivers that are, carrying the ball out of the backfield, quarterbacks that have designed runs, specifically for them, not just zone read, but I'm talking about regular option style runs. So when you have these unique players, I think it's important not to be so rigid to say, well, this is how we've always done it, this is how it's got to go down. So having changes and adjustments to suit the personnel, I think that's what the best of the best do. And knowing that it has to change what you need to do to win this week, that's what has to be done. And so it's pretty cool to be a part of that and see guys with different skill sets and different ways that we play. And like I said, it's kind of one of the best parts, because the learning never stops.
How is Neville coming and sort of playing his way into game shape with as much time as he missed, and how important is he with that run defense to try to combat that physical running attack coming at you? Yeah, very important. And that's why you probably saw, some increased play time for him, just to get into the groove, to be into that, to be in some different schemes, over the last few weeks. And he'll definitely be a factor right there in the middle of it again this week. So I would see his arrow just continuing to go up. The early part, we just kind of honestly had him into some pass rushing, spots to do that. And then over the last few weeks, both in practice and in the game, we incorporated him more on early downs, on first and second downs. But inside, both he and Watkins and Osa and some of the other guys, they'll be a real factor. They've got a veteran center in Alex, who I know well, kind of directs and runs the ship. They have some, plays in the run game that are unique and different. So it's a challenge, but one inside that we'll definitely lean on Nev and his size and strength inside. The fraternity of coaches reaching a Super Bowl isn't huge. What is that bond like for you and Kyle? And is there a special bond just considering how close you all got and how painful it was not to get to the finish line? Yeah, and I think for both of us, you want to go back, and that's certainly what we did, and you talk about it and you say, what'd you learn from it? Because otherwise the pain of not completing the deal, would be lost on it. So you want to make sure we both studied it, learned from it, discussed it, and that way when you get back into that space, into that moment, you're able to attack it and go. But the guy's a fantastic coach. I had no doubt that he would do well there. I can certainly remember talking to the Yorks when they came in to interview him, and I just
wanted them to know how impressed I was. He's ready to do this. He's been, kind of built for it for a long time, growing up, the son of a coach, but the leadership, the vision for it, he was going to be excellent. And so, it's a shared experience that we have, but one, hopefully years from now, there'll be other things to talk about and in a better way. But, hey, I get it. A couple years ago, I would have been pissed about it and tried to blow it off. But, part of me going to fix some things and say, hey, how can I do things better? I had to go back and look at that moment too and know that it is hard to get there and all the challenge that goes to it. So I'm never going to look past it and, just take the things I've learned and rock it from there.
Dan, this defense is just night and day difference than what it was a year ago or when you took the job. From when you took the job and you were watching tape of these guys to where you are right now going to the playoffs, what about this defense are you most proud of?
Man, there's a lot. I would say, one, I'm probably most proud of the connection that they've built together. We talked about putting a standard together and what they could do as a group of men together. And the best teams that I've been a part of have been really good in the locker room first. And I've learned a hell of a lot through the years from the locker room. That's where do you listen? Where do you engage on guys? Where does that connection take place? And so in 1 year's time to see this group of guys connect, have each other's back, and want to fight for something that's bigger than themselves, that's not easy to do. And so that doesn't come from me, that comes from them and wanting to battle and fight for one another and just make sure that you do your job so I can do mine. And they've taken that approach. And so I'd say that to me is number one, that connection that you have to have. There's nothing like being in that huddle with your guys and the game's on the line. You're ready to battle your ass off for it. And you can look to the guys and know they're down for it. I would say the second thing, that would be, pumped for them as we talked about the importance of creating takeaways and having a mindset for the ball. And really, Mike's done a good job of championing that for us. But to have that go our way in terms of the turnover battle, that helps you win games. So I'd say those would be the two things that I've been most pleased with, the connection and creating the takeaways. And I just think as they're building together, we're going to continue to see the improvement. And that's why I'm excited about where they're at and where we're headed.
All right, thanks, Dan.
All right, you guys have a good one.
Thanks.
All right, see you.